Hey guys, my name is McGann, and I am someone who has been in a swirling vortex of narcissists my entire life. I have a new, probably very long story time to share about a different kind of narcissist I met. I never met this type of narcissist before. He actually didn't present as a narcissist, so it kind of took me a long time to get the feel of him and figure him out. So today I want to do a story time for the vulnerable narcissist that I met and had several encounters with, and how it was just a crazy roller coaster the entire time. Like, I'm still trying to process it. Doing these kind of videos is actually part of my processing process. The logician in me, it just has to make sense of things, and if I can't let it go. Like, I can't stop ruminating about it. But to just jump right in and get on this train wreck, if you follow this channel, you know that my husband is a narcissist. He cheated on me. We are in the process of getting divorced right now. And I have been on dating sites kind of meeting new people. And I've chatted with and met a number of different guys at this point, and I would say, most of the time you just get this, we're not really compatible vibe, and then you two go your separate ways. I mean, hopefully that happens. I do not like to be the jerk and be like, hey man, I'm just not feeling it, so peace out, bye. But so far that hasn't been a problem for me. But I happened across this one guy in particular who actively worked to warp the reality around him. And he was so manipulative and two-faced that my people-pleaser brain went into overdrive mode trying to make him happy. And I was just working so hard to try and get his approval because that type of abuse is my normal life. And the abandonment issues I have, they're not a joke. They feel very life and death to me in those moments. But that's something that I need to work on to fix within myself. Because if I don't, I'm just going to keep running into people like this over and over and over again. But let me preface this by saying I am not a doctor. I am not a life coach. I am not anything related to the medical or mental health field. So I can't diagnose anybody. But this dude was the complete checklist of the Vulnerable Narcissist playbook. And I do have notes on my phone in case you're wondering what I'm looking at. But a vulnerable narcissist is a much more introverted personality. So they're more like the guy sitting off by themselves in the corner at the party, not the guy who walks in and he's just like exuding, look at me, look at me, look at me. And the vulnerable narcissist is very neurotic. They fixate on things. They're hypersensitive, so their feelings are basically paper thin. They will suck the emotional energy out of the room to try and, make things about them. Like, oh man, I wasn't happy about this one thing, so I got to bring the whole room down with me, that kind of mentality. But you might not see it up front. They might not present that way. They might just present like, oh, woe is me, life is so miserable. And then everybody's kind of walking on eggshells around them and trying to make them feel better, and that's how they get their ego fed. The vulnerable narcissist doesn't listen very well, but they look like they're listening. So you sit there and tell them a whole story, and they might cherry pick some details that they can throw back at you for reference, but then, a couple days later, they're bringing it up and it's completely wrong. Like, you can just tell that they did not listen to you at all. The vulnerable narcissist will take more than they give. So they're always, hey, what can you do for me? What can you buy me? Here's things that I like. And they're a lot less, hey, let me do things for you. Let me give you things. Let me be nice to you and make you feel good. And if they are doing the, hey, let me make you feel good, it's only as much as they need to so that you will start feeding back into them. It's not a genuine thing for them. They also hold grudges. They will not let anything go, no matter how tiny or petty the issue is. They're always the victim. They never do anything wrong that they'll admit to. It's just always poor me, poor me, poor me. They can't deal with any of their past issues, whether it is a real serious trauma or a minor slight. Like, they cannot let anything go. And they're always just ready to either fight about it or get upset about it or use those issues to kind of be a problem instead of dealing with them. And I do want to be very clear, the guy I'm about to tell you about, because this is, again, a whole train wreck horror story, I truly don't think that he has any control over his emotional state. He is not a greater narcissist who calculates and plays these chess games with his victims for fun. The vulnerable narcissist usually just presents as this nice guy, this quiet guy, and maybe he's a little pathetic, maybe it feels like nobody will give him a chance to love him. But that's only on the exterior, because on the interior, they are so self-centered and controlling that they cannot hold any kind of relationship together. So in a normal relationship, you guys are going to have conflict. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have disagreements, and you can both come to the table and resolve things, make things better, understand each other. The vulnerable narcissist can't do that. They like to fight for the sake of fighting, and then they have this sort of superiority complex that they'll never admit to out loud, but they're thinking in the back of their head just like, oh, this person is trash now. Oh, this person did one thing that went against me or what I wanted, so they're just garbage. So they are miserable, and they want to be with people, like they want to have interpersonal relationships, but they will not get out of their own way to have them. There's a big fearful, avoidant attachment style that goes along with that. However, having said all that and sort of sounding like I'm making excuses for this guy, I also want to be clear that no matter what his issues were, that does not excuse his bad behaviors. So let's talk about that dating app narcissist and the extreme trauma bonding that he put me through, because I'm a people pleaser who cannot seem to stay away from toxicity. I just don't learn my lesson with these types of guys somehow. I don't know how many I'm going to have to meet before I learn my lesson, but apparently 3 in a row is not the answer. So I met this guy in mid-November on a dating app, and he had a really good vibe about him. I couldn't quite explain it. We didn't really chat a lot, but it just seemed like check. Like it just felt all greenlit with him. He was big on mental health, which I was like, awesome. I love a guy who can cry and actually, look at himself and say, I have issues. I need to work on those. Like, love that. Adore that. Then he was also a content creator, which I am as well. So it's like, oh my gosh, he gets it. He knows the life. And so after a couple days, I was like, you know what? You are going to be the first person on this app to get my phone number. Like, feel blessed. So he starts texting me really heavily for the first few days, and he's all like, hey, I'll call you, I'll talk to you all night kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm still a little phone call shy, let me get more used to your energy through these text messages, because as a super empath, I can tell a lot about people from how they text and everything. So I think we spent about 3 or 4 days texting each other, and it was, pretty regularly all throughout the day, not necessarily from sunup to sundown. But we were having some good conversations and back and forths. So after those few days, I let him call me, and we talked for 2 days in a row for about 5 hours total. Like, he did a drive to another state, and I was talking to him the entire time he was in the car. And this guy is so enthusiastic. He seems like almost like a dream come true. It's like we have all these interests that are lining up. We have all these values that are lining up, but he is so almost overly interested in me that I kind of start to get wary. Like, we have conversed with each other for about a week, and he's already trying to get me to invite him home to my mother's house for Thanksgiving because he doesn't have any plans. You seem like a nice guy and all, but I've got 3 children. I am not getting you around them. I don't know you. So I came very close to ghosting him just because he was coming in too hot. And I told him, I don't really know what I'm looking for on here. I'm just getting out of a almost 15-year marriage. I'm kind of looking to keep it casual and just have a buddy to go to movies with. But he is so persistently going like, no, I see all this potential in you. And I'm so thrilled to find this geek girl, and we have all these similar interests. And, I think we could be such a good match, and this would work so well. And he was just way too eager and complimenting me way too much that I was starting to feel like he's either going to become a future stalker or he is love bombing me, which is a narcissist tactic. Basically, a narcissist will find you, and if they sniff out something that they like, that they think that they can use for narcissistic supply, they will overload your system with compliments and praise and all this positivity, and it sets off all these dopamine centers in your brain to where you get hooked on this guy pretty quickly. So having been through this game a few times before now, I'm seeing this as a red flag. Nope, too many compliments that are just, you're great, you're wonderful, oh, you do all these amazing things. You don't know me that well to throw that level of complimentary force at me. But ultimately, I talked with my friends, and, I kind of chose to see the best in this guy. Just ignore the red flags and tell myself that he's like Michael Scott from The Office. I was thinking he could be a guy with just too much energy, too much love to give, and he just really desperately, wants somewhere to put that. So I give him a chance. I give him the benefit of the doubt. And so after texting for 3 or 4 days and being on the phone for 2 more days after that, I ended up last minute asking to see him the day after our second call. So this was probably a week total that we had been conversing at that point. And I really should have insisted on doing a formal date, hey, let's meet at this restaurant or this park or, something like that. But it had been my first date off of a dating app, so I wanted to keep the pressure really low. And I was just like, hey, I'll just come hang out at your house, whatever, wavy gravy, easy breezy. And I am very sensitive to, serial killer vibes. I had none of that from him. And, when I'm over there, he's really sweet. He's very gentlemanly, but emotionally, he's kind of completely overbearing. He just keeps talking about all this stuff he wants to do with me in the future, like start a couples gaming stream. That's his lifelong dream. That's all he wants in the world. And not that I'm opposed to it, but it seems like a really weird pitch for the first time you're seeing somebody face to face. And then he kept offering to buy me these like really expensive things to where I was so uncomfortable. And I guess in hindsight, I didn't accept any of these gifts or ask him to go out and buy any of these expensive gifts. So maybe that was all just talk and he would have never actually given me anything. That's definitely another narcissist tactic, to promise and never deliver. But I was just not okay with him wanting to spend like, $50 to $200 on stuff that, it wasn't a necessity. It was like a video game stuff. It wasn't things I needed. It wasn't things he needed to, be wasting money on when he didn't have a job at that point. And again, I'm seeing it as a red flag, but I'm telling myself, hey, maybe this guy is just really awkward because nobody ever gives him a shot, so now he's trying to overcompensate to keep my attention on him. Not everyone can be a narcissist, McGann. Some people have to be just normal people, right? And even though I barely know this guy, I am so empathetic for his feelings and, wanting to give him a fair chance and not trample over all of these hopes and dreams that he's talking about, that I ignore my gut and I don't back away like I feel like I want to. And again, I could have. There's nothing he could have done to stop me if I had, blocked all of his stuff online and never spoken to him again. But that's something about myself that I really need to work on. And I left his house after a few hours. The only thing that was really like, hey, this is seriously a danger zone red flag here, was that his landlord showed up to clean out the gutters and he just got up and started pacing back and forth to the windows like a bulldog. And he was like, I'm going to go out there and say something. I'm going to go out there and say something. He shouldn't be here. I could have company over and he could be freaking them out. And I'm sitting there like, it's not a big deal. I mean, he's outside the house. It's not like he just like walked in on us or something. Like we're just sitting on the couch. It's not a big deal if he's cleaning the gutters. It just startled me that somebody was climbing up the window. And I just had to talk him down for like 5 minutes. Like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because I'll go out there. I'll fight with him. I'll say something. And I'm like, are you trying to defend my honor? Like, I don't really understand what's going on here. This is so bizarre. I mean, yeah, it's kind of rude for the landlord to show up unannounced and maybe it's a mild inconvenience, but it's not the end of the world. And at one point he's like, it's okay. You're safe. And I'm just like, it's not like he's out there with, a Jason mask and Freddy claw fingers. Like, I don't know why this is such a big problem. But I end up going home. We keep texting each other for the next few days pretty consistently. And I stopped by to see him again, I think maybe 2 days after Thanksgiving. He was really sweet and affectionate, but again, really coming on way too strong. I was just starting to feel like he had pinned all of his hopes and dreams for the future onto me. And I'm just like, baby, I don't know if you're the one. Like we need to slow down. And he was even saying things to me like, oh, well, you should text me before you go to bed. And you should be texting me when you wake up. It's like, I don't want to wake you up. Like, I get up at all kinds of weird hours. Like, it's okay. I have do not disturb on my phone. So just text me every morning when you wake up and text me before you go to sleep and, call me more. And it was just like, he wanted me to constantly be like, hi. But he didn't want to take any accountability. Like he acted like phones don't go both ways and that he couldn't text me or anything. It was like he wanted me to chase him and it just felt kind of weird. But, I got the impression from all of this that this guy was very seriously into me. And I was getting kind of nervous that I was going to hurt him because I didn't know how committed I wanted to be with, the first guy I'm dating after, my husband's gone. I was trying to take things one day at a time. time and get to know him. And he was just like, no, we're going to go at this at a breakneck speed. But, I'm an attention-starved wreck, so I let it continue. And the third visit I have with him is about a week later. He had offered before to take me out to the zoo. So I suggested, like, hey, the weather's going to be nice on this day. Maybe we can do that. I can get one of my kids to babysit the other kids and we can go out for the night. And he says, yeah, he seems like pretty enthused about it. I meet him at his house and we're having a nice time and we're talking, and he starts asking me about being his girlfriend. And it felt way too fast, but I sort of panicked and deflected it by going, well, I'm not legally divorced yet, so I don't know what the rules are here. And he kind of like sighed and he was like, I guess I'll just have to be patient then. But there was zero hint that he was upset about that. Like it kind of felt like in his mind we were going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. It just wasn't going to be, pen and paper kind of official. And I will very openly admit that at that point, I was getting to know him. I did like him, even though he was very overzealous. So I had deleted the dating apps on my phone and I told him that. So I don't know if that kind of perpetuated the, hey, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend discussion or not, but it was still like, it was too fast. So then we leave his place to go to the zoo. And as soon as I get in his car, his entire vibe changes. He's irritated, he's snippy, he's saying things like, I really like you one minute, and I don't care if I ever see you again the next. He's jumping down my throat because his car is leased when I don't even know what the heck happened there. He was like, yeah, my car's a lease. I know, it's stupid. You go ahead and make fun of me. And I actually said, whether you're paying for a lease or you're paying a monthly loan payment, it's kind of the same sunk cost. So I don't see where it's a benefit or a hindrance either way. And he just kind of bounced back and snapped at me. I know, everybody thinks it's so stupid. Like, that's not even close. Like, I was defending your choice. Like, why are you yelling at me? And he just started complaining about the traffic and the crowd to get to the zoo. And it wasn't just like, man, this is a lot of people. He was like, I can't believe you're dragging me all the way over here. Look at this. You're making me sit through this line. I was blinking back tears by the time we got up to the gate. I was really getting upset and feeling personally attacked. And that made me feel bad for asking to go on the date that he offered to take me on in the first place. So again, that's another just like, what the heck is going on here? This boy is not consistent. He should not be acting this put out for something he invited me to do. And when I spoke up about it and said, my ex is a narcissist, this is really starting to like affect me that you're doing this, he did apologize. So that was a green flag moment. But then his attitude was still so tense and angry the rest of the night that the apology really didn't make a difference. And let me describe some of this, really strange behaviors that he presented. We get in the zoo. There's an Auntie Anne's, which is that pretzel place, in all the malls. And he asked me, do you want to get something here or do you want to get dinner after? And I said, you know what? It is totally up to you. I will do whatever you want to do. And so he walks up to the counter at Auntie Anne's, orders himself food, doesn't ask me if I want anything, and then just goes and like takes the food and sits on a bench. It's just so wild. And it's not like I would have demanded like, hey, you need to buy me stuff. You need to pay for my stuff. But to ask me, do you want to eat at Auntie Anne's or do you want to eat after we leave the zoo? And then to go order food and exclude me from that process, it's just a really crazy thing to do for a date. Then we're walking around and of course it's the zoo. So there are children everywhere. Some of them are loud. And he's going on about how, people should beat their kids. They shouldn't be making noise like that. And I'm just like, geez, you really hate kids, don't you? And he goes, no, what are you talking about? I love children. Why are you saying that? Like, well, your attitude doesn't sound like you love children. And he tried to say, I'm just people watching. Maybe there are other versions of people watching that I do not partake in, but to me, people watching is kind of quietly saying things to yourself about people, more comical, or you're sitting there making up backstories for, these random people that you're observing. You don't just sit there and go, oh, there's a loud kid, beat it. Like, that does not feel like people watching to me. That feels like hostility. It's like that thing is making noise and I can't control it, so I hate it. That's how that felt to me. People watching is not getting mad that humanity humanity exists. It's finding the fun in the flaws. And he's walking around complaining about every animal that isn't visible, even though we went there to see the zoo lights, so it's nighttime. Most of the animals are not going to be visible. And he didn't even want to like sit down or stand by the lake and watch the light show. He just wanted to kind of briskly walk around. It was so weird. And I was trying. I kept trying to, put a happy spin on everything and, oh, don't worry about that. And, who cares if the animals aren't out? I'm enjoying your company. But I could not have a nice time with his energy and how he was just so sullen. But I didn't want to confront him and be like, you're kind of making me miserable because, he drove me there. And if he flips out and leaves me there, what am I going to do? Plus, he had me feeling so guilty for making him come to the zoo that, I felt like I was walking on eggshells. And at one point he looks at me and he's like, I can't even tell if you're having a good time or not. I can't get a read on you. Like, he's getting kind of annoyed about it. And in my head, I'm just going, I'm sorry, but I don't know how you could read anybody through that miasma of contempt and anger swirling around you. But I didn't say it because I didn't want to die. And he kept saying these flat out insane things at the zoo, like, I can't wait till your kids call me daddy. And, oh, it wouldn't cost much money to make my zoo membership into a family membership. And it just, like, he thought he was sweetening the pot for what he had to offer or something. It was so bizarre. And even if he had meant those things as jokes to kind of get a rise out of me, I mean, we do not know each other that well to take that level of familiarity. I can't wait till your kids call me daddy are not first date statements. So we're not at the zoo very long before we leave because he just, I don't know, doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to be in the crowds. I don't know what his problem is, but he just acts miserable to be at the zoo. So he asks about dinner once we get back in the car, but he's got this attitude kind of about it the whole time. Like, I don't know, I could go either way after I ate that Auntie Anne's. I'm just like, oh, must be nice. But, I want to be amiable. I don't want to put him out. I don't want to make him angry. I don't want to choose the wrong thing and him complain about it. So I say, you know what, we can go eat, pick a place. But that irritates him more. And he actually said to me at one point, what, am I supposed to be the event coordinator for this entire evening? As if planning any part of this date was just so far beneath him. But I know this trick from my ex. He didn't want to pick a place, but any place that I picked would have been the wrong place, and he would have been angry that I didn't choose magically what he wanted. But we're driving back from the zoo. His house is about 40 minutes away, so we've got lots of options to pass, in this amount of time. And during this drive, he starts asking me if I would ever consider having another baby. And I was just like, oh, no. What are we going on about? I do not know you like this, sir. And he starts asking about baby names. And I'm like slapping that down, like, nope, not talking about that. And then I felt so bad. Like I was being so mean for just this casual question that I ended up turning around and talking about things like baby names. But still, every restaurant we drive past, he like gets upset that I didn't psychically pick it. But when he complains like, oh, we should have gone there. Oh, we could have gone there. Oh, that place is great. And I say, okay, let's go. Like he refuses to turn around at the same time. So it's like he wants to complain just to complain. So we end up at Max and Irma's, I think because I said I hated Max and Irma's. And so that was like a challenge for him. But whatever, I am so not looking to fight. And, we get in the restaurant, things are fine again. He's back to being nicer to me and he's throwing out, way too many compliments again. And he even calls me his pseudo-girlfriend by the time we leave the restaurant. And that kind of made me wonder if his awkward behavior all night was because I didn't jump at being his girlfriend earlier. But even so, I mean, he can't stop saying how much he likes me and that he appreciates how I took all this effort to come up and see him, and how all of the girls on his stream are going to be so jealous that I landed him. And he even starts saying, like, again, creepier stuff, like, oh, next time let's go to this tiki bar over here, and when I get drunk, I'm going to start screaming things like, oh, I love this girl right here. And I was just like, I did not say a word. I was just like wide-eyed in the passenger seat at this point, like, what did he just say? And apparently he believed I did not hear him because he then repeated it. Do you hear me? I said, I'll be saying, I love this girl right here. Like, dude, are you trying to sideways tell me that you're in love with me after I've seen you in person 3 times? I mean, we've known each other for like 2 weeks at this point. That was another narcissist red flag that really kind of scared me. And he doesn't stop the weirdness there. He starts asking me to give him my Netflix password. Like, dude, I do not know you. I was so confused by his behavior. I wasn't really sure if he was trying to trauma bond me or if he was upset because I didn't say yes to being his girlfriend, or if maybe the insecurities that he has, because he has depression, anxiety, insecurity issues. So I didn't know, maybe his insecurities were kind of eating him alive because this was our first time out and about. So, you know, the pressure was on. And maybe it was a combination of all those things together. But it was a very stressful night for me trying to manage his emotions that were going all over the place. But like a fool, because I am nothing if not a fool, I convinced myself that all first dates are bad, and he really liked me, so maybe I need to give him more time and just see if he calms down as we get more familiar with each other. So the next night, he's doing a live stream on his Twitch channel. I tune in, you know, kind of trying to solidify my opinion of him, and based on how he spoke to me the day before, I was not expecting to see him, you know, talking to his chat and going on and on about how he wants to bang the girls in his chat, like really aggressively, nonstop going on, like, yeah, we're gonna do, you know, just again, overbearingly over the top. And it made me feel like, what the heck is going on? And at the same time, he knew I was in the chat. Like, I had spoken up several times and he knew what my username was on there. So he was acknowledging me. He knew I was there, but he was just really snippy and dismissive anytime I said things. So red flag is now spinning above my head, especially since this guy is aware that, you know, my husband had been cheating on me. That's why I'm getting divorced. And he's telling me, oh, your husband is a dirtbag. I would never do anything like that. You never have to worry about me messing around with multiple women. So just to see him talking to other people that way after he was talking to me in similar ways was just like very jarring. And during the stream, he kept speaking about things that we did together, but he would not mention me at all. He would not be like, oh, you know, we went to the zoo together, or, oh, I had this dinner date with somebody and I was eating those leftovers earlier. So again, it was just so strange how he was talking about these things that I was there for, but he had cherry-picked me out of the stories. And that was probably the biggest red flag for me yet. So I finally got fed up, but you know, I didn't want to interrupt his stream by texting him or calling him. So I sent him a DM expecting him to see it the next day. And I was basically like, hey, you know, I'm glad that I got to hang out with you, but can you reach out tomorrow when you get up? Because I feel like I misinterpreted your level of interest in me, and I don't need to get myself hurt if I have the wrong impression. And I probably could have worded it better, but I was feeling so played at that point that I was doing the best I could. So the next day comes, he flips out saying no one has come in between him and his stream. And I said, you know, I don't want to stop him from streaming. It's the inconsistency in his behavior that, you know, is bothering me. And ultimately, he acted like everything was fine after we talked back and forth about it. And he was telling me like, hey, if you have a problem, if you think I'm being too mean in person, you know, if my attitude is being too salty, then address it in that moment and don't let it build up to where, you know, now you're mad at me about 5 things at once, which is part of what happened. You know, he was so hot and cold and up and down on me during the physical date that I had no idea what to make of it. So when I saw him flirting with those girls, it just felt like I have been totally lied to. And so that blew up in my head. And I get that. I get what he's saying. I think had we had like a more long-term relationship, that would have definitely been something I could have done. But again, this was the first date, and if I don't feel safe around a volatile personality, I'm not going to speak up because I don't know what they're going to do. Ultimately, though, it was a really green flag, positive conversation where I felt heard, and I felt like I better understood this guy. I understood his online persona more, and it really changed my opinion of him and made me like him. Healthy conflict resolution? I mean, heck yes, where do I sign up for that? You know, maybe this is the guy for me, and I need to keep exploring this with a more open heart now. That was my mentality after that conversation. However, after we had the back and forth, and I thought things ended in a really good place, he got really distant and declined when I tried to offer to call him a few hours later. So the next day, I reached out. I'm like, hey, thank you for hearing me out. I really appreciate that, you let me talk to you and address this concern and that we're able to, resolve it and move forward, basically. But he came back several hours after that, just furious, saying again that I'm not going to come between him and his community. Nothing is ever going to stop him from streaming, and he's not going to stop this flirting with people anytime soon, and that his followers cared about him more than his own family did. So how dare I, basically. And before I knew what happened, because I am so like, what the heck? We just resolved this already yesterday. He's blocked me everywhere. So I was reeling and confused, and I found out that, okay, he didn't block me on Instagram. So let me send him a message there, and I'm apologizing, and I'm saying, I think this is a huge misunderstanding, and, would he please unblock me and talk to me? But if, he's decided he will not forgive me, he will not talk to me anymore, then I'm not going to bother him after this message. And after a couple days, he unblocked me. He was like, well, I don't ever get on Instagram, so I just saw your message, but I want you to know how upset I am, and how could you think that I'm this womanizer? And I'm trying to tell him, like, listen, that's not what I'm saying. Like, that's not what I was trying to say at all. And then he's like, oh, okay, I reread what you were actually texting me, and, we're fine now. I get where you're coming from. I understand. We're in a good place. And I told him at that point, listen, like, I find blocking to be kind of traumatic, so do not ever block me again. Like, I will be done with you so fast if you treat me like that. And he was all like, okay, I gotcha. But I had the understanding at that point that I was entering a relationship, maybe not boyfriend, girlfriend, but, kind of a we're gonna be exclusive relationship with this awkward, overly enthusiastic, sweet guy. And he was insisting that, oh, this was just our first fight and we're all good now, but we weren't good. This has been a pretty long video, so I'm going to break this into probably 3 or 4 parts. Stay tuned to check out the next part, because this is where it goes off the rails into narcissism territory. In the meantime, I would like to just state that I share these experiences not because I want to, hurt this guy or, drag his name through the mud. That's why I'm not using his name. That's why I'm not showing his phone number. I'm not showing his username. But silence is abuse's best friend. So the more people who are victims of narcissists keep quiet, the more narcissists get to get away with these really crazy, unreasonable behaviors. And again, nothing that has happened yet has been too very crazy, but buckle up, buckaroos, because we're about to go off the rails. Tune in for part 2.